AITA for refusing to go to my estranged father's funeral, even though he left me everything. Throwaway account because my family knows my real one. I, 28F, just found out my father passed away. We hadn't spoken in nearly 15 years, so it wasn't like I expected to get that phone call, but it came, and apparently he left me everything. His house, his money, not much, and some random stuff like his tools and old records. To make things clear, my father was not a good guy. He walked out on me and my mom when I was 13, after years of being verbally abusive to both of us. He drank, cheated, and when he wasn't tearing my mom down, he was ignoring me altogether. When he left, we didn't hear from him for years, not a single birthday card or call. It was like we never existed. So imagine my shock when I get a call from some lawyer telling me not only that he's dead, but that he left everything to me. I honestly thought he forgot I existed, and I was fine with that. Here's where it gets complicated. My aunt, dad's sister, reached out after the lawyer did. She thinks I should go to the funeral for closure and to pay my respects. I told her I don't have any respect left to give. And closure? What closure am I supposed to get from burying a guy who buried me first? She then drops this bombshell. Apparently, my dad regretted everything in the end. He wanted to reach out, but he didn't think I'd listen. I probably wouldn't have, to be honest. She says he was sick for a while, physically and mentally, and that I should forgive him because he tried. I'm sorry, but how? How did he try? By thinking about calling me? By leaving me his old stuff? That's not trying. He had 15 years to make this right. If he wanted forgiveness, he should have asked for it when he was alive, not dumped all this guilt on me from beyond the grave. Now my aunt and some other family members are calling me cold-hearted. They say he made mistakes, and I should be the bigger person. One even had the nerve to tell me I won since I got everything, so what's the problem? I don't feel like I won anything. I feel like I got stuck cleaning up a mess he left behind as usual. So AITA for refusing to go to the funeral and not wanting anything to do with his last wishes? Or should I just suck it up and go to make everyone else happy? Edit. Wow, I did not expect this post to blow up. Thank you all for your support, and for those of you sharing your own experiences with estranged parents, it helps knowing I'm not alone in this. To answer a few questions, 1. I don't need the money, and honestly, I haven't even decided if I want it. The house is in rough shape, and the idea of going through his things makes me sick to my stomach. 2. No, I don't know how he died, and I'm not sure I want to know. 3. My aunt is relentless. She called again today, and when I didn't pick up, she left a voicemail saying I'm disrespecting the family by refusing to show up. I'm not planning to respond. I'm seriously considering just blocking them all at this point. Update 1. So, I decided not to go to the funeral. I thought that would be the end of it, but of course, it's Reddit, and life doesn't work that way. A few days after the post blew up, my aunt showed up at my door, unannounced. She'd driven 2 hours to lecture me in person because apparently I wasn't getting the message through the constant phone calls. She didn't even ask to come in, just stood on my front porch like she had all the time in the world, arms crossed, eyes narrowed, like I was a teenager skipping school or something. "You're being selfish," she said, her voice all tight and condescending, like she was talking to a kid who didn't know any better. "You need to let this go. This isn't just about you." I was 2 seconds away from slamming the door in her face, but I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe a part of me wanted to see how far she was willing to go. "Why?" I asked. "Why is it so important that I go? He wasn't important to me." She did that thing where she sighs like she's carrying the weight of the world. "Because you're his daughter. That's not something you can just erase, no matter what happened." I laughed. Couldn't help it. It came out bitter and sharp. "He erased me a long time ago. I'm just doing the same thing." For a moment, she didn't say anything, just stood there, like she didn't know how to respond to that. Finally, she looked down at her shoes and muttered, "He was sorry, in the end." I had heard the speech already, and it wasn't working. But before I could tell her to leave, she pulled something out of her bag. A letter, folded up, worn, like it had been handled 100 times. "I wasn't supposed to give you this," she said, her hand shaking slightly as she held it out. "But I think you deserve to know the truth." I didn't want it, I really didn't. But curiosity's a hell of a thing, and before I could think better of it, I snatched it out of her hand. I didn't open it, not then at least. I just stared at it, my mind racing between wanting to burn it and needing to know what was inside. My aunt stood there like she was waiting for something. An explosion maybe, some tearful acceptance. I wasn't going to give her either. I'm not reading this, I said and tossed it on the table behind me. Now leave. Her face fell. She tried one last guilt trip, but I just shut the door in her face. That was 2 days ago. The letter's still sitting on the table. Every time I walk past it, I feel like it's watching me. My aunt hasn't called since, which is probably a first. I don't know what to do with it. Part of me thinks I should read it, just to see what he had to say, but I don't know if I want to hear whatever apology or excuse he tried to leave behind. I've thought about burning it, about just throwing it out with the rest of the trash, but every time I reach for it, I stop. What if there's something in there that'll change the way I feel about everything? What if it just makes it worse? I don't know. I really don't. What would you do? Update 2. All right, Reddit. I read the letter. I wasn't going to, but after a few sleepless nights with it staring at me from the table, I finally caved. Here's what it said. Dear, my name. I'm not sure if you'll ever read this. Honestly, I wouldn't blame you if you burned it the second you saw my name. If you did, well, maybe that's what I deserve. I don't know how to start this. There's no way to explain or justify the things I did. I don't expect forgiveness. Hell, I don't even deserve it. But I need you to understand that I wasn't myself for a long time. That's not an excuse, just a fact. I wasn't a good man. I wasn't a good father. I failed you, your mother, and myself. I know that. When I left, it wasn't because I stopped caring. It was because I couldn't handle who I'd become, and I thought maybe you'd be better off without me. I see now how wrong I was, but by the time I realized that, it was too late. I'd done too much damage. I figured the best thing I could do was stay away, let you live your life without my shadow hanging over you. But staying away didn't make anything better. It just made me more of a coward. I was too afraid to reach out, too ashamed to face you, so I stayed silent. It was the easier thing to do. And now, at the end of my life, I can see what a mistake that was. I'm sick. I don't have much time left, which I'm sure you've already heard by now. I don't expect you to care, but before I go, I want you to know this. I never stopped loving you, even when I didn't show it, even when I didn't deserve to. You were the best thing I ever had in my life, and I ruined it. There's a lot of things I'd change if I could go back, but I can't. All I can do now is leave you everything I have, which I know isn't much. It won't fix anything, but maybe it'll give you something to build from. I'm sorry, I know that doesn't fix a damn thing, but it's the only truth I have left. Love, Dad. I didn't know how to feel after reading it. I still don't. It wasn't the sob story I expected, and honestly, it didn't make me feel better. If anything, it made me angrier. He wrote all of that, but he couldn't say it to my face. He had 15 years, and all he did was leave me some crappy letter at the end. How convenient. But there was something else, something I didn't expect. After I finished the letter, I went back through it, just to make sure I wasn't missing something. And tucked inside the envelope was another piece of paper, smaller, folded up tight. It was a picture of me. When I was little, maybe 6 or 7, we were at some park, and he was pushing me on a swing. I don't remember the day, but we were both smiling like we didn't have a care in the world. On the back, in his sloppy handwriting, he'd written, "Best day of my life." I sat there for a long time just staring at it. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that either, so yeah, that's it. I read the letter, it didn't give me closure, it didn't make me forgive him, but now I'm stuck with this picture, this stupid reminder of a version of him that didn't last. I still don't know if I'll keep the house or the money. Maybe I'll sell it, maybe I won't. For now, it's just sitting there like the letter did, like everything else he left unfinished. Final update. It's been a couple of months since I read the letter, and a lot has happened since. I didn't want to post again, but I figured I owe you all one last update since so many people reached out with advice, stories, and support. I've had some time to think, to process, and to make a few decisions. First off, I sold the house. It wasn't an easy choice, but the place was a wreck, and going there just felt wrong. Walking through those rooms, seeing the dust on everything he left behind, it was like stepping into someone else's life, a life I wasn't part of. So I got rid of it, took the money and put it aside for now. I don't need it, but maybe one day I'll figure out what to do with it. The weird part, cleaning out the house wasn't as awful as I thought it'd be. I found some old photos, stuff from when I was a kid. I didn't take most of it, too many bad memories attached, but I kept a few. The one of us at the park, obviously, and some others where we look like a normal family. The kind of photos where, if you didn't know any better, you'd think we were happy. As for my aunt, we haven't spoken since that day on my porch. She showed up at the funeral apparently, and from what I've heard through the grapevine, she's pissed I didn't. She still thinks I'm being cold and unforgiving, but I've come to terms with the fact that she'll never understand, and I'm done trying to make her. Family doesn't get a free pass just because we share blood. They still have to earn a place in your life, and my father didn't. Neither has she. But the biggest thing, I've started seeing a therapist. It took a lot to admit I needed help dealing with all this, but the letter brought up things I hadn't thought about in years. All those buried feelings I didn't want to deal with. Turns out, shoving stuff down doesn't make it go away. It just festers until it all comes back, uglier than before. Therapy's been hard. There's a lot of guilt, a lot of anger, a lot of what ifs. But I'm working through it. Slowly. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive my father, and maybe that's okay. Forgiveness doesn't have to mean forgetting or pretending everything's fine. Sometimes it's just accepting that it happened and moving forward. I guess what I've learned from all this is that closure isn't some neat, tidy thing. It doesn't come from reading a letter or attending a funeral or burning old memories. It comes from doing the hard work, from taking control of your life again, even if that means leaving the past where it belongs. I've still got that picture of us on the swing, though. I keep it in a drawer, buried under some papers. I don't look at it often, but I haven't thrown it away. I guess that's the one part of him I can live with. A single day where things weren't broken yet. Anyway, that's it. I'm moving on. And for the first time in a long time, I think I might actually be okay. Thanks for listening, Reddit. You've been more helpful than you'll ever know.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel for new videos every week.